Mew2King, M2K, the king of Mews, or the robot. Smashers, if you're trying to learn about the psychology behind smash and improvement, you've made it to the right channel. Let's get into exploring the robot mindset so you can know the exact frame your character dabs. We love the robot. It's made Mew2King one of the most intriguing competitive gamers of all time.
Unless you're frame perfect, 99 out of 100 times, you're not good enough. That's my mindset. That's what I tell myself. That's how I got good.
A robot has no limits. There's no constraints to what data you can retrieve, how much analysis you could do, or how much information you can store. And a robot has no problem doing repetitive and mundane tasks. Stick around till the end of this video, because you'll want to know how to get the most out of the robot mindset that's clearly proven to be successful without actually having to be one. So there's a big problem I need to address, in that most players limit themselves by believing they can't learn certain information. I've caught myself doing this after watching Gimmer show off the most sick nasty Brawl DK setups and thinking, I could never do that. Or coming across a Smashboards thread of DK's frame data and thinking, I can't learn this, there's no point. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and keeps you from reaching your true potential. The solution lies in the two main traits you need from the robot mindset. Even though I didn't define it, I'm sure you could imagine a whole list of player traits a so-called robot would have. Trait number 1. The robot knows no limits. I'll be the first to admit we aren't actually machines, but if something is humanly possible, you should believe it is well within your reach to master it.
What the f—
In Melee, it seems that None is the first Falcon player who didn't feel limited by the difficulty of edge cancelling up special. He's become the most reliable at pulling it off and gives him an edge over other Falcons. You can definitely attribute None's rapid improvement to him possessing this first trait. In Smash 4, Void took his combos to the limit through perfect pivots, which, at the time, felt extremely hard to be consistent at. On the other hand, it felt like Mr. R was constraining himself by choosing to extend his combos in other ways. I would argue that Void having this trait led him to being one of the few newcomers able to keep up with the top Brawl veterans in early competitive Smash 4. Trait number 2. Knowledge is power. The robot wants to know everything about everything, no matter how big or small. There's nothing too irrelevant for you to know. My personal favorite example of this is SFAT's use of Dyraki wall jumps. Most players will pass this off as too irrelevant and ignore it. It's not even difficult to execute. SFAT puts this piece of knowledge to full effect and makes game-changing plays.
Little combo. Wow, okay, that
Rocky?
was nice. Yeah, that was the only way he could have got that too. He wouldn't have been able to get that without that Dyraki wall jump.
That's
amazing
actually
stuff.
amazing.
And just now I'm seeing Axe net a kill off a technique known as TDropping. The tech is somewhat difficult, but it's also only doable on Fountain of Dreams. I'm sure most people who've heard of this tech totally disregarded it. It's all these small things that separate the very best from the high-level players. In essence, now that we live in a time where everything's online and there's no need to manually count frames, we could say the new age robot mindset for success is the firm belief that every little thing counts. If you aren't yet convinced, let's look at how close games really get. Just recently, in what's being called the greatest Marth Ditto of all time, Rishi was on his way to make a notable upset against Zayn, showing his prowess in the mirror matchup. There was a close call where Rishi had Zayn on the ropes to take the match, but was just interrupted by Zayn's Dolphin Slash. I'm not going to make random claims about how close a match gets, so let's see what the man with the science has to say. Practical tasks. Rishi was one single frame away from beating Zayn in that encounter. That is 1/60th of a second. You can be sure as hell that even the tiniest thing in that match could have swayed the outcome. And here's another butt clencher. The robot himself versus Hungrybox at CEO Dreamland 2017. Looking at practical tasks, he shows another example of how 1/60th of a second made all the difference. And these are just from what we see on the big stage and take the time to analyze. And it's also only looking at last stock and possibly last game situations. You'd be extremely surprised at the frequency of insanely close games, and even more so at insanely close stocks. The tiniest thing can be and will be the difference. So guys, you better believe that every little thing counts. In the same way I believe every single subscriber counts. So be sure to spank that subscribe button so you don't miss any more woke bombs like this. And be sure to hit that DK thumbs up and leave your video suggestions in the comments. Have a swell evening, and I'll see you next time.
At your feet. Anyone can do it. Anyone can dance. My moves